Direct from Austin, coast to coast, and in your face. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
It is September 11th, 2009, 8 years after the tragic events that hit New York and Washington, D.C. Operation Northwoods, the official U.S. government plan to stage terror attacks in U.S. cities to start a foreign war with Cuba and the Soviets. Operation Ajax, staging terror attacks in Iran to blame it on their government, declassified. Gulf of Tonkin, admittedly staged to get us into the Vietnam War that killed over 1 million Vietnamese and 58,000 Americans. False flag terror is real. But Charlie Sheen of Platoon and Wall Street and Major League and, of course, the #1 top-paid TV star, Charlie Sheen is simply asking questions. And he's with us now into the bottom of the next hour. For a full hour today, Bob McIlvaine, who lost his son in the towers, will be joining us coming up later in the next hour for the last 15 minutes of this interview. Joining us from his home in Los Angeles is Charlie Sheen. Charlie, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's great to be here, as usual. I think right off the top, we need to take a moment of silence for the victims of September 11th. Just know that those are the memories that we're honoring today.
A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people lost loved ones on that day, and it is important to remember them. And Charlie, political whores like Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity and others, their attack plan is to say that you're besmirching the memory of those that died. When I've interviewed Bill Doyle, the head of the biggest families group, saying the majority of them believe it's an inside job. He does. Bob McIlvaine, they've protested around the White House and Ground Zero. The media ignores them. Your letter and your request has been about having a meeting with the president and taking these victims' family members there to the White House. But the media is involved in this hoax, saying the families all buy the official story when 6 of the 10 commission members say it's a complete fraud.
Yeah, no, well, I guess it's, this is indicative of the times that we live in. If people don't hear it on television, then it must not be true, which is a sad state of affairs. And, I think we should talk about the fact that I reached out to the White House, that I sent an email to Press Secretary Gibbs, and I got a call back from his deputy, Mr. Burton, and he said, out of respect to him, I don't believe in playing people's voice messages, airing them publicly, but he said that he would get back to me, but he doesn't feel that that this thing is going to happen, meaning my actual sit down with the president. And so I wrote them again. And I said, I asked if I could, as an ambassador to the families, meet with the president, with Bob McIlvaine in particular, representing their voice. And I haven't heard back yet, but I did in my email state that if the president denies this request, I would at the very least expect a letter with him detailing his decision to not do so.
Charlie,
I'm still waiting to hear, Alex. Still waiting to hear back. I understand they got their hands full. There's a lot of issues that they're tackling, but I don't really think that they're any more important than what we're trying to address here.
Yeah, they're busy staging events. It turned out the White House had ordered the New York police not to tell the mayor about the flyby Air Force One photo op triggers panic in Manhattan. Turned out the White House ran that to create some type of psyop. Now you have this drill run by the Coast Guard with the media covering it like it's real, just a mile from where he's giving a speech. But he has now lovingly reassured us that everything's okay, but reminded us of how wicked the cave dwellers are and how we better give up all our rights or they'll get us.
Yeah, I know, because these guys in a cave in Afghanistan with a satellite phone can get NORAD to stand down. Wow. They're more powerful than we ever imagined. As far as that flyby, haven't any of these clowns ever heard of Photoshop? I don't know. Call me crazy. It just seemed easier and cheaper solution, you know?
Well, it turned out it wasn't a photo op. There was a psyop the White House ran.
Gotcha.
And that's hidden in plain view, and that's clearly what's happening here. But, yeah, they could have gotten a photo op for Air Force One over New York. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that media spin. You wrote the letter so they would focus on the 20 points. Talk about that, and then please expand on the fact that they continue to put words in your mouth and misrepresent what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I anticipated this. I didn't know that it would be this egregious, that it would be this blatant. You know, I wrote the letter to get people's attention. Oh my God, did this really happen? And then bang, there's all the data. And so I think it's had the effect that I had hoped for, and even more so. But the media right now is really they're really showing their ignorance as well as their true colors. Because I haven't read one hit piece, one article, online or otherwise, that after attacking me personally, they then never go on to say, well, we've looked at your 20 bullet points, and here's why they're completely invalid and based in fiction. So I think that we put something out there that is so powerful that they can't figure out a way to disassemble it this time. They're doing all their research, and they're looking in all their archives, and rather than rolling out some experts or really looking at the facts and saying, well, this is questionable or that's questionable, we've really tied their hands. So all they can do is attack me personally, and it's sad. It's sad. I mean, I actually kind of feel bad for these people. That's all they got. Like, oh, well, he did this, this, and this. Okay, all right, keep going. Yeah, I did that. Okay, might have done that. Whatever. Let's get to the facts. And they just don't get there. You know. But I think what we need to mention, Alex, is that we need to really thank all the readers that have commented, that have really supported me in the comment sections on a lot of these articles, because they themselves point out that it is clearly obvious, Mr. or Mrs. whoever, that you did not read his piece. You did not address any of this. All you're doing is attacking him personally, and it's just so predictable and completely inane. You know.
Well, Charlie Sheen, TakeMilitary.com. Dozens of comments. I only saw 2 that were against you, and they were mindless and sophomoric. The other comments, even though the story was a hit piece, said, look, his article does have a link to the Washington Post with 6 of the 10 commission members saying it's a cover-up, a lie. Yeah. There needs to be a criminal investigation of the Pentagon and the White House. And when I talked to you last night, you wanted to specifically get into that, and we will later. But first off, what about Cheney and the false flag stuff that came out from Cy Hirsch and even MSNBC? Tell folks about that.
Well, I think people need to really, really look at the connection, look at the reality between the facts that this is the same man that concocted this outrageous plan, as reported by Seymour Hirsch, which is detailed in the letter, for a false flag stage provocation to bring us into the Iranian conflict. And so people really need to look at that and really need to look at the outline of the measure of this insanity, and then also take note that this is the same guy who violated or usurped a 51-year standing protocol to seize shoot-down power from the generals at NORAD. So the guy that came up with the insane Strait of Hormuz plan is the guy on 9/11, the only guy in the known universe with shoot-down power. And nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about my past exploits, and so on and so forth. So
well, I
don't have any credibility.
They're just jealous, as if the Pentagon boys don't have any exploits. hookers are more ubiquitous than water fountains in D.C., Bill Clinton. But the point is, expanding on this, sir, and not what you did when you were 25, expanding on this, it's Dick Cheney that wrote the PNAC document September 20th, 2000, saying we need a big Pearl Harbor event, a big terror attack, a catalyzing event to launch our global domination.
Yes, which people will notice that's observed through the voice of the president in my piece and not by myself, which I think was key.
Tell folks why you had the idea. This was all your idea, and I think it was genius. Brilliant, as many have said. Looking at the piece, different literature sites, Hollywood sites, even some that disagree with you are looking at it and saying this is a really well-written 16-page script. How did you get the idea to have it 20 minutes with the president and then put it out the way we did?
Well, gosh, there were a couple of factors.